Friends, and welcome to the Full Heart Podcast. My name is Rebeka. This is the premiere episode of this podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for being here. I want to start by asking you one simple question. What is success? Do you know what success is? Like, what does that even mean? Who has success? When you think about a successful person, who comes to mind? How did they go about attaining success? How do you go about attaining success? Like for your personal life, do you feel like you've reached it? When I first made a call out to people to say I want to talk to successful women, the main question I got was, what is success? And my answer was basically exactly like that's what I want to discover. That's that's who I want to talk to. I want to talk to people who feel successful, and I want to ask them why they feel successful and what their definition is and how they got to this place and how do they maintain it and what obstacles were in their way. Like I want to collect stories. That's just what I want because I'm in a transition time. I'm calling it my gap year. I've spent the last 25 years exhausting myself in an attempt to find success in career and money, but it hasn't panned out at all. So I am taking this time and I'm taking this year because I'm an empty nester now. I moved both of my kids into their respective dorms and cleaned out my apartment, sold a bunch of stuff. My family was kind enough to hold on to the little bit that I wanted to keep. And I have been doing my own thing. I'm taking a gap year. I'm taking some time to rest, recover, regroup, and remember Rebeka. That came out when I was writing this and I got excited. But for real, like, who am I as a human? Not just a single mom trying to survive. What does success even mean? Like, what does that mean for the next phase of my life? Because I feel like I was successful as a mom, but not in career, not in money, like not in anything else. So what does success look like for this next phase? Who am I outside of survival mode? So honestly, that's part of why I kept this mess in the background. As I was thinking about this episode and what I wanted to say, I thought I'm keeping this mess because I am recording this episode inside my childhood bedroom. We moved into this home 32 years ago when I was 12 years old. And I am here now for the holidays and in between stops. I wanted to spend some time with family. My kids are here from their Christmas break. I am sitting in this room that I grew up in with all my stuff around me because I am leaving in 4 days to go live in Pennsylvania for 3 months. And I don't know what's happening after that. So I'm in this fun transition time and I wanted to document it with all of this back here. So what does this all mean? I know for me, I am kind of tying up my past. I am taking in and integrating the lessons from everything in my past until today and then getting ready to take them into my future. So in this premiere episode, I'm sharing a bit of my story, why I'm launching this podcast now, what does full heart even mean, and why I believe stories are the most important thing for us, and a little bit about what you can expect from this season. So first, again, as I sit in this room and I think back on little me, like I remember loving money as a kid and thinking that success meant having a lot of it. Like that was the goal, right? Like let's have a lot of money. So I would hoard my money. I would save it and rarely spent it. I would hide in my closet and count my money that I got from babysitting. I would hide like 20s in a jacket pocket that I could find later. It was a fun thing. That's what I remember about my relationship with money. And so I thought that's what I was going to do. I was going to grow up, I was going to get a job, I was going to have a lot of money, and it was going to be fine. But let's fast forward through many jobs, 2 marriages, 2 divorces, 2 kids to raise, and never enough money to live, let alone save. I found myself thoroughly confused about what success means anymore. Like, I believe I've been a successful mom, but that kind of took away from my ability to have a successful career. I couldn't figure out how to do both. I There were certain aspects of my mom life that were very important to me and how I wanted to show up for my kids, and I had specific reasons for that. But that kind of took away from what success and career looked like, especially in a capitalistic, patriarchal environment where they expect certain things that I wasn't willing to give because that was going to take away from my main goal of being a mom. So how do you even combine these two things? But as I've grown, as the collective has grown, as the internet has grown, I've watched more and more women be able to do both things because we're able to create our own lives now more than ever in history, and it's fascinating to me. So I started thinking, why not just start talking to women? Like, what let's start talking to women and ask them their stories, because I know that there are women out there who feel successful, who have feel successful as both a mom and a business person. Or there's probably people who feel like they were successful in business, but not quite as good of a mom. Not good, but they weren't able to show up as a mom as much as they want. What about women who don't have kids for whatever reason? There's just so many stories out there, and I wanted to hear them because stories are so important. And a couple years ago, I woke up in the middle of the night, like this idea just woke me up straight out of bed. And it was basically a fully fleshed out outline for a book about the divine feminine, success as a woman, basically how the energies are shifting collectively, digging into what success has meant historically, why it hasn't worked for women, and let's face it, full-time caregivers, how successful women have made it work. I've had these very specific examples that were brought into my mind, and thinking about what structures they had in place that really helped them to get to the level that they are. It was a lot. I was like, hold on. And I tried to write down as much as I could, but I just didn't have the energy to really dig into this a little more until now. And so that's part of starting this podcast. It's the beginning of collecting data for that book and for that idea. It's the beginning of being able to honor that idea. I recently was cleaning out some old journals, and I found a note I wrote from like 3 years ago saying, I want to interview successful women. I want to learn about their stories. So this has been floating around for a while, and I'm really grateful that now I have the energy and opportunity to bring this forward. Because we are all stories. Stories have shaped humanity since the beginning of time. That is how we have come to understand ourselves, understand life, what's good, what's evil, what's right, what's wrong, what, like, everything around us is a story. And so I'm ready to create, I'm ready to create a different one. I'm ready to leave a legacy, essentially, through these stories. Stories are healing for all involved as well. The storyteller heals a piece of themselves by being heard. Anytime you're able to tell your story, there's a little piece of your heart that gets healed inside of that. A little bit deeper understanding, a little bit more self-love, because you're sharing this piece of you. And there's healing in simply being heard. That can be, honestly, that can be a huge thing. That can be the thing that saves you in a lot of ways. Like, when you are simply, when somebody holds space for you to share your story, that can oftentimes be enough to heal so much. The listener gains love and understanding for themselves by hearing another's journey. We are not alone in this life, despite the pull yourself up by your bootstraps and nobody's coming to save you motif of capitalism and the messages that we get a lot. I've come to really despise those messages. It's separating us from each other, and that makes us weaker. We are here together. We are here in this life together. You are not alone. You're not going through things alone. Nobody who has reached a high level of success has done it by themselves. Don't let them fool you. That's nonsense. So Sometimes simply hearing somebody else's story as the listener makes you feel less alone. It gives you ideas you needed, or makes you realize how good you actually have it. It puts your own story into perspective in a way. And every single story I've heard, I can find a connection for myself. And I've noticed this with other people too. Like, we are more alike than we are different. And so when you hear somebody else's story, it connects you to something bigger than yourself, which is amazing. Also, I've learned enough from men's stories. We've been hearing men's stories like crazy. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. You know, it's just men's stories everywhere. I'm done. I want to hear more women's stories. I want to hear about the single mom who had to figure out how to make money while raising her kids. I don't want to hear from the dad who left and built a multi-million dollar business while his kid's mom was struggling. Like, I don't want to know that story. That's not helpful to me. And there's just so much to that. I am personally at a crossroads in my life. As I said, I'm a brand new empty nester. I'm in my gap year and I feel so confused. I feel not even like I'm starting over, like I'm just starting. I was talking to one of my students after graduation. I ran into her at the gym and she's like, I'm nervous. I have to go out into the real world now. I've got to go to college. And like, that's going to be like a buffer. But then after I graduate there, I've got to go in the real world. I was like, I know, me too. And she laughed. She's like, you too. I'm like, but no, I legit feel like I don't know what I'm doing and I'm brand new starting in this life. Somehow I've managed to raise two kids into really great human beings, but I feel like I'm also 18 trying to figure out what to do next. So, like, I should have decades of work on my resume. I should have a more robust savings account. I should have all this stuff that you would think a 44-year-old woman would have. And I'll share more of my specific story more expansively in another solo episode. But for now, I'm just sitting in this moment of transition, feeling so lost, letting myself feel lost. And I always wished I had a big sister to help me navigate this life, to help me figure out my next steps, to hold the space for me and to tell me the stories. So I just figured there's a ton of big sisters out there. So let's take advantage of this new era and this internet and find the big sisters and find the stories because we are moving into a new era collectively. You look at human design transits, you look at astrology transits, you look at what Chinese zodiac is saying. Every spiritual aspect is pointing us to the fact that we are moving collectively into a new era. Things are changing. The way we are doing life is ending. It's not sustainable anymore for anybody. It's toxic. It's just not working. We are moving forward into a whole new way. Life 10 years from now is going to be something we can't even imagine. And so let's dismantle these old success stories. Let's really look at what success has meant in in capitalism, inside of patriarchy. How has the feminist movement really brought us forward, like helped us move forward? But what does it really mean to be a successful human? I think we're moving forward into a time where everybody's going to be able to have a chance to be successful, to have what they need to grow the life they're meant to grow, instead of having to give up everything to feed the capitalistic machine. Because success is not one singular thing. I feel like we've been taught that. Like I said, when I was a kid, I really thought like, okay, well, success is having a job and having a lot of money. And I feel like that was a huge message inside the 80s and 90s that is something I want to unpack later, but it's not. It's not. So you will hear me ask each guest what success means to them. Every time someone comes on, I want to know what success means to them because it's time to co-create a more rich definition, a stronger definition of success, individually and together. I want to hear each individual's definition because that's going to make the collective definition stronger. It's time for you to define and identify with your own definition. It's time for me to do the same. We're not all reaching towards the same thing, and that's beautiful. My version of success is going to look different than yours and different than each guest, and that's an amazing thing. Let's build on that. On that note, I want to talk about why this is called the Full Heart Podcast, because I thought about a bunch of names, but ultimately it came back to Full Heart because this is the name of my business. This is the name of my mission. In 2020, I had the great fortune of working with an amazing life coach. He was fabulous. He changed my life in the best way. And through him and through that work with him, I realized that I wanted to do work similar to his. I didn't totally know what that meant, but we worked a little bit together one-on-one, and he led me through this meditation of really digging into my heart and listening to my own specific purpose. And inside of this meditation, I saw this hummingbird come to my heart and kind of build a seed, and I had this image of my heart feeling so full of love that it overflowed. And that overflow began to reach everybody I came into contact with, right? And so then that overflow kind of connected into their heart and helped them fill their heart with love, so full of love that it overflowed, which then connected to everybody they knew. And it just, one by one, I could see the whole world lighting up, and I realized that's what it is. Like when we love ourselves so much and so deeply and so completely, we show up in such a different way, in such a more beautiful way, that we connect to people through love, and that helps them to love themselves more. And so then they show up in a completely different, more beautiful, more holistic way. And then that impacts the people they interact with. And so as you can see, it's just like a candlelight ceremony, like the candlelight, like New Year's Eve, when you hit one candle and then everybody just keeps connecting to somebody, and then it spreads so fast, and all of a sudden the room's lit up by just candles, but it started with just one. So it was just like that, and the whole world was lit up by love. And I realized my mission was to be love, was to live in joy, to share love, because that's how we heal the world, one full heart at a time. You'll hear me say this mission in basically every episode because I believe it's a very important mission, and I am just here to serve it. And so I'm going to keep saying it because I believe that's the best way to really integrate the message, because it's not really about me. It's not about me at all. It's just about me in the sense that this mission chose me in this specific way. It showed me that visual and helped me to learn to love myself, because I realized how important that truly was. I feel like I did that with my relationship with my kids, because again, I had very specific intentions and goals as a mom, and I needed to show up as my best, most healed self in order to do that. But it was hard for me to do in any other relationship. I was really just sacrificing myself and shutting myself down in basically every other area. And so this really showed me that it's important for me to show up exactly as myself and to love myself so much. And it really did change my life. And the hummingbird part was really fascinating to me. I didn't know what that was about, but I told my parents about this when shortly after the meditation, and come to find out, hummingbirds are kind of big in my family. Like my grandma loved hummingbirds, and my aunt also. And so it turns out it's like a thing. And so that's when I realized my grandma was a big part of. I wasn't expecting this. My grandma basically came and shared this message. I hear my grandma and my aunt a lot whenever I think about this business. And my other grandma comes in oftentimes too, in different ways. When I think about my grandmas and how they didn't have these opportunities because of the time that they grew up in. And so many women who were shut down and who were quieted and who just didn't get to really be their biggest, fullest, most authentic self because of the time they were in. And that is heartbreaking to me. We need more women's stories in this world. We need more wholehearted women showing up and sharing their love and sharing their gifts and their talents, because when women are allowed to show up, the world changes in a beautiful way. So I'm just really grateful to my grandma for sharing this message with me, and to my aunt for coming with me. They've both since passed, so this is why I get emotional. Like they passed years ago. I barely have any memories of my grandma, honestly, or my aunt, but they keep coming and helping me with this mission, and I'm really, really grateful. And that's the power of women. And that's part of what I want to do in this podcast, is women showing up and sharing their stories. Because again, that's just a simple way of us connecting to each other and connecting to our own power and our own love. So that's my mission with this. And that's why I called it the Full Heart Podcast, because it's grounding me back into my mission. I lost my way for a little bit, but it's grounding me back. Future seasons will be about different things, I'm sure, but right now it's about success, because of the transition time I'm in, and because of the story that woke me up in the middle of the night that wanted to be told. So I'm really just at the mercy of this. I I am simply the vessel. I'm at the mercy of this project and its vision and its goal, and I'm happy to be so. So I'm trusting that it's going to guide me to the best place, and it's going to guide me to the best people, and it's going to guide you. It's going to connect you to your best self, to your heart and to your love. And I'm just really grateful. So this kind of okay, also here's my logo on my shirt. If you're not watching, you probably won't see, but it's on, this is going to be on everything. My friends designed this at the very beginning of my business, and I'm obsessed with it. That's, now you can probably understand the connection of the hummingbird and the heart and why that's my logo. I just really wanted to share that story. It felt really important. So that kind of brings me back to this room and this mess, and just all the connection of the past and the future and the present, and processing and integrating. So again, I talked a little bit at the beginning about my money journey and my idea of success. And whenever I'm in this room, I connect to my younger self and just think about who I was, and what happened. What is this life? Ask every guest a little bit about their past, like to gain an understanding of who they are and how they came to be where they are now. So it's really fascinating to me to sit in this room and to think about the years I spent here growing up, and the times I've come back as an adult, and just all the growing that has happened in here. And I think about that younger version of me that would count my money and would budget my money. I remember sitting down like right there and writing out how I would spend my money on my paycheck from my jobs. And I would always tithe my 10%, and how I would split up my money. Like, I really liked budgeting. I really liked doing that. I liked connecting with money. I wanted to be an accountant. I thought that that would be really great. I'd just be with money all the time. But it turned out I got engaged at 18 and married at 20, and I had a whole life that did not involve being an accountant. I gave it all up basically to be a wife and a mom. I quit school twice and had to go through a divorce before I graduated as a full-time single mom, 14 years after graduating high school. For the past 13 years, I've been doing my best, but I've always felt behind. I've always felt confused and exhausted. And so I'm documenting this kind of in-between moment, this time of remembering my past and remembering who I am, and being grateful for these past versions of me, and thanking these past versions of me, and forgiving these past versions of me. All these times I thought I was making these huge mistakes, or these moments that I look back and kind of judge myself and think, let's not do that. I just really want to be grateful. I want to have the time and space to really integrate these messages and these moments. And looking at what I have in this room right now, you know, I have the stuff, like I cleaned out my entire apartment. So I have the stuff that really, really meant something to me, that I wanted to keep, that I wanted to hold on to. I have the things I'm trying to figure out what to pack for 3 months. I'm going away for 3 months in a wintry place. I currently live in Houston. It is 80 degrees outside. I went for a walk at 7:30 this morning and it was humid. And I wore a t-shirt and I kind of wanted to take it off. Like, it's hot here, but I'm going to Pennsylvania where it feels like 17 degrees and I've got to figure out how to manage that. And I'm excited. So figuring out what to bring with me for these 3 months and then not knowing what's happening after that and just stepping into this version of myself that is here to trust the future, to really trust myself. I am moving deeper and deeper into self-trust and self-love. And that is a huge mission of this podcast because I want to hear other women's stories of self-trust and self-love. I want you, the listener, to gain deeper self-trust and self-love each time you hear one of these episodes. And to do that, I'm honoring this messy middle, this weird in-between, and just really sitting in the destruction before the creation. And I love it. I love it because all the women that I get to interview have their own childhood stories, their own messy room, their lost dreams, their hopeful futures, their what if moments, their experiences that were indeed traumatic that have turned into gifts. All of you listening have your own paths and journey of self-love and self-understanding. You have the room where you sat in as a child and let your child mind dream your big adventurous adult life. You have the stories you collected from your parents and family and TV and friends and everywhere else. You have the way that you navigated life through those stories, but you have your reality right now. You have the choice to integrate those past stories and to create your future story. You have the chance to look back at what worked and what didn't work. What is actually true for you? What does success actually mean? What does money actually mean to you? What relationship do you have with money? What relationship have you had? What relationship do you want to have? What does being a woman even mean? How has being a woman filtered your story? There's so many layers to all of us. And each one of us has our own stories and our own missions and our own journeys. And that's part of what I'm doing here, is collecting these in a place so we can all have a chance to build our own legacy. So again, this first season of the Full Heart podcast is about success for women, by women. My hope is that this turns into a lovely place of conversation and remembering for all of us. I invite you to comment on things, shoot me a DM if you have a question. I'm never claiming to have answers. I am here to be curious. I am here to collect stories. I am here to find the themes in the stories and to share what I've learned. And that's what I'm wanting to do now. That's really what I want to do. I feel like an investigative journalist of life. This place is a collection of stories of building a legacy. How does success lead to a full heart and a full life? That's kind of the question I'm asking this season. Future seasons will likely be about other things, but the main theme is always to guide you to your own wisdom, your intuition, your connection to God, your connection to love yourself so deeply that your heart overflows. Because ultimately, isn't that the best kind of success? I think so. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being on this journey with me. I very much look forward to seeing where it goes and to sharing my nomad journey with you. That will be happening too. I love y'all. Thank you.